All right, everyone, as you file in today to the queue, it's great to see you on our bi-weekly Wednesday webinar. It's pretty much for us Halloween today, but it's 78 degrees, so it doesn't really resemble Halloween. It's actually kind of spooky that it's so warm outside. So today we see a little bit of gray, and I'm going to call it warm and humid, which is odd here in Wisconsin. For you, it may be somewhere different. If you're dealing with the aftermath of storms, we wish you very well and cleaning up and all. But what we want to do today is welcome you to our webinar. And I want to start today with my gratitude. My gratitude is for family. My daughters, both Samantha is working on her driver's license coming up here in the next probably a few months it is, but it's fun to drive her around and have my youngest driving a car. It's kind of frightening actually, but it's kind of fun. My oldest is at Iowa, and that's Isabel, and she's having a great first semester. She's enjoying it, adjusting very well. And so for myself today, I'm going to say it's both of them. Also my wife, who's actually on a trip today down in Scottsdale with some girlfriends, having a wonderful time too. So I would say that's great. And then last night, the Homestead boys beat Cedarburg, which is nice, in the fifth set, 16-14. So it turned into a barn burner. So it was kind of fun to watch that. It's fun to see that, see the young people, see how excited they are in all the prep sports. With that, Ken, how about yourself?
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Good to be here with you all as usual. My go big is we did something called Habitat for Humanity. A lot of you heard of it. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but 2 or 3 weeks ago, a group of us had a chance to spend some time with one of our clients who's very passionate and has done a great job and a massive contribution to Habitat for Humanity. Happens to be in the West Bend area where this house is being built. And it was just a really, really nice time to spend time with the team members here on the team. And also we had a handful of clients show up as well. And it's funny because now I'm getting follow-up saying, hey, look at what they've done with the house so far since we've done it. And it feels like a connected. I'm connected to the people that have been with there. We did something together. We put some siding on, right? We ran an air gun. It was a lot of fun. It was really engaging. And I'm really grateful for the connection that's created out of that because it's created stories. And I really, really appreciate that. So I'm really grateful for those opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you very much. How about Mike? Mike Mann.
Thanks, Chris. So, Ken, you're going to like this because I know you love my gratitudes. So I'm actually grateful for the humidity. I'm one of those who suffer from chapped lips significantly. I had a very tough weekend, waking up with the dryness and everything like that. This morning, it all changed. So I woke up, had no pain here, was ready for the day, and here we are. So grateful for a little humidity to give me a little relief in this dry season. Thanks, Chris.
That's awesome, Mike. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. How about let's go to Ryan. How about yourself?
Good morning. Thanks, Chris. A lot to be grateful for right now. As the team knows, and I've shared with you guys, I lost my grandfather recently. The service coming up here this upcoming weekend, but I was fortunate enough that he lives very close to my parents. And they sort of had some warning that it was going to be happening, and I was able to get up by them and spend 3 or 4 hours with him in his final hours, and get to see him and tell him again, as I have been telling him all year, how much I appreciate him and how much I appreciate the son that he raised to be my father and to be an example for our family in his faith and in his commitment to being a family leader. um, Very grateful to have had a strong grandfather and to be able to spend that time with him before he passed.
Thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate that as well. And of course, our sympathy, these are with you as well. How about Michael Bursbach?
Thank you, Chris. My gratitude today goes out to my parents. I got to spend close to a whole day with them last week, just some conversations that we haven't had before, which was pretty special. But also, I'm not sure if anybody on the call is following the World Series, but there's a really cool story that came out about Freddie Freeman on the Dodgers, whose mother passed away from cancer when he was 10 years old. And then just 2 years later, his father was about on the early stages of going into heart failure, and Freddie had recognized that and got him to the hospital where the doctor had said that you got him here with just enough time to save his life. So it's just really good perspective to see that no matter what anybody has going on for them, they're still a human, and obviously to really appreciate that time with family and your parents. So back to you. Thanks, Chris.
Absolutely. Absolutely, you bet. So why don't we do, let's do Ashley as well. We will do Jenny as well. How about Ashley?
Thank you, Chris. I am grateful for traditional fall things that my family and I do together. We enjoy hiking in the woods. We caught the leaves a couple of weeks ago, almost towards their peak. So that was enjoyable to hang out with my nephews and my niece and just enjoy all things fall, including dining together outside because we have had such a beautiful fall. And just look forward to a fall still coming up here with Thanksgiving. And then, of course, going into the holidays. So just a fun time of year and great weather for us Wisconsin.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, thank you. Thank you very much, Ashley. How about Jenny?
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I guess I'm going to give my gratitude to our most recent Empowered Wealth session. We attend these sessions as a team just to learn to serve you better. And the last one really hit home for me with a few of the videos that we watched and the concept of just being a multiplier and looking around and seeing how you can just constantly ask yourself, how can you do it better? So some of the videos applied to your personal life and your marriage and relationship. And then a lot of it was, how do you look around your work in your office and think, question everything? How can it be better? How can we be a multiplier on this team? So I can't believe how much time I've actually spent thinking about that and trying to identify just little areas that that I can help.
Fabulous, Jenny. Thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's nice to see those as well. You'll find things that resonate with you, and then they just tend to be a theme in your life. That's fantastic. Thank you again for sharing. Well, back to this time of year. This is time of year again. It's fall, but it doesn't feel like it here, but it is time for reflection. It's interesting to kind of see what's going on. You're in the midst of football. You're in the midst of all sorts of college football. And it's fun to see those things occurring here. And kind of I'm going to call it the nostalgia of what happens. Now, looking at things like, the Packers and the Packers season, there's injury updates and everything. That's all getting in the middle of a season. But most importantly, as I look at it, those are kind of peripheral. To some of you, I know Packers are central, but I would call it peripheral in the bigger picture. It's time to reflect on things that your family's done together. The upcoming Thanksgiving, which is only 3 weeks away approximately, maybe 4-ish. And I think there's only around 50 some more shopping days until Christmas. I always like saying that because it's kind of funny. Yeah, so if you look at those numbers too, there's always that countdown to go, oh my gosh, have I gotten anything for anyone yet? It's not even Halloween. Oh, it is tomorrow. But it's a great time of year for that. Now, most importantly, when we're looking at your portfolios and markets, there's a lot going on with with taxes, tax proposals. So one thing I wanted to touch on, there are a ton of tax proposals every year, as a matter of fact, but especially in an election year. And they talk about those because we have two diametrically opposed candidates. Now, one thing you don't hear us talk a lot about is politics, because I think Warren Buffett said it best. If you mix your politics with your investing, you're going to do fairly poorly. So don't view your investing through a political lens. Also, the word politics comes from the Greek word poly, which means many, and ticks are blood-sucking animals. So another reason we stay away from them is it's just not a pleasant subject. But in years like this, where there is something going on, there's a lot of proposals about taxes, this and that's going to happen. It's all supposition. It's all proposals until something actually happens. So maybe the estate tax does get changed. Maybe we do sunset the tax law at the end of next year and nothing happens. We're not sure about that. There's a lot of proposals, but right now we can only operate with what is. So with that, the human condition is consistent. The markets are doing what they're doing, which has actually been very, very good. We're hitting all-time highs. Now, what's driving it? Excitement by the consumer. Rates are potentially lowering. We're feeling pretty good about the American economy in general, although I think today it came in a touch less than the 3% was expected. It was 2.8. But looking at all the macro trends together, it's interesting. We're in a very good place. We also have something called artificial intelligence generating what we call 20 or more Gutenberg moments at one time. That's basically changing the world that we live in, but it's changing each company that we work with as well. So watching how that rapidly develops, it's kind of like COVID. COVID showed up a little bit here. People saw it, they heard of it. It was something that was happening over there. Then it happened in Washington. Then all of a sudden it happened to everybody. I'm going to liken this somewhat to COVID, not in its ill effects, but it's how it affects us. You're going to see things. For this, for instance, the SE-01 robot is coming out as well. You're going to start to see humanoid robots. You've heard of them. It's been the Jetsons, it's been the futures, but we're going to begin to actually see those things happen in real life. So as we start to see those, don't be surprised. Remember what I've said before. We need to be comfortable living in a life of acceleration. Things are going to happen faster. crazier as computing power doubles and triples. You're going to see peripheral things like mines. You're going to see things like we just found a potentially huge lithium deposit in Arkansas or something down south. And how are they going to extract it? They don't know. Just as soon as they predict that we're going to be out of something, we'll find more of it or we'll work our way around it. Anyway, heading back into this season, there's a lot of going on politically, a lot of stuff. I think with the election happening next week, it'll be nice to actually not have to get those flyers in the mail and those texts on your phone. I don't know if you guys have been texted by the candidates, but I've had probably 35 different texts from them a week. And I don't know why they're texting me or how they got my number, but I'd like them to stop. So we'll put out something about that as well. But in the bigger picture, I want to run over. So today we are going to, Zach is out today, so we're not going to have Zach's facts, which is fine. I think I'm going to make up a few of these things along the way, but why don't we first go along to Mike's Minute? Mike, what's going on? Tell us what we should know.
Thanks, Chris. And really what we need to know is that next week there's a very important event. You know, we all know that this is happening. We've all been watching it, anticipating it, all of that. The Federal Reserve meets next week, Thursday. And so the Federal Reserve will be meeting in approximately, as I said, 8 days, but 3 hours, 46 minutes, and 36 seconds from now. And the consensus overall is that we're going to see another lowering of interest rates, typically not being as much as what it was last time, being, 50 basis points, looking at more of just a single lowering, which is 0.25% at the end of the day. So that's what we're looking for. What the market is anticipating now, is the market always right? Absolutely not. So we'll see what ends up actually happening. But according to the Fed Watch tool, there's about a 95% anticipation that the Federal Reserve will be lowering it that one tick. Shifting gears a little bit, just kind of talking about markets. Chris talked about how we are, right on the cusp of all-time highs, if not at one currently. Something incredibly interesting that we were just chatting about. On average, since 1950, the S&P 500 has set a new all-time high 16 times per year. Now, as you know, there were years like 2022 where quite literally the very first trading day of the year, the second, was the all-time high for that entire year. It didn't set a new one through the entire course of it. So what does that mean? When the market hits all-time highs, it likes to climb. And so just because we receive or hit an all-time high doesn't mean that if you have money to invest, it should stay on the sidelines. It could be an opportunity going forward. Could it go down? Absolutely. Could it go up? Absolutely. And so the best time to be an investor is when you have money available to do so. And that's always how we're going to answer that question. Take a look at those short-term goals, what you need money for. We're not putting that in the stock market, but the opportunity could exist elsewhere for some of those savings that are sitting on the sideline, and the ability to create a little bit of extra growth to accomplish goals in the future. So stepping in for Zach's portion of this conversation, we'll do a little recap of how the markets have been doing this year, and I'm going to bounce around. And please, I have commandeered his office, and he has this wonderful curved screen. So if my eyes are all over the place, that's just my ADD. Don't worry about it. Anyways, S&P 500 year to date is up 22.5%, and these are current numbers. The Dow Jones is up 12.5%. NASDAQ Composite is up 25, just shy of that. And then the Russell 2000, the small cap companies, is lagging at 11%. Still at a really wonderful return with those companies. And typically we do see that sort of lag in these sort of environments. When we break things down between growth versus value, specifically in large cap, those big companies, we're still seeing large cap growth outperforming by about 13% in comparison to large cap value. Large cap growth is up 27.5% year to date. Large value is about up 14.7%. And so the last thought that I want to leave everybody with, because we've heard Zach talk about this a lot this year, and it is still the case that 7 companies have truly driven the majority of the return of the S&P. Well, if you look at the time period until June, that Magnificent 7 that we speak of, they've driven 60% of the return up until that point of the first half of the year. Now, the S&P 493, and I really like that term, so that's every other company in the S&P 500, since the half of the year, they have driven 93% of the return since June 30th. Granted, the S&P 500 is not up as much since June 30th as it is today. But or in comparison from the beginning of the year to June 30th, from June 30th to today, that second sector isn't quite as dramatic as what it was in the first half, but it's just really wonderful to see that we're starting to see a lot of these other companies start to drive returns. Some of the things that are catching up, some of those things that active managers may have picked up on along the way, which can help generate a little bit of outperformance. So there is a shifting of the tide. The same companies that led recently, a lot of times, maybe they won't continue going forward. So thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Mike. Maybe I should change this to Mike's minutes.
Hey, I took Zach's facts too, so
You did. You
I'll
did.
take it.
I got a question though for you, Mike. Why didn't the skeleton cross the road?
Oh, man.
Because it
I
had
have no idea.
It had no gut. So at any rate, great time of the year for some Halloween jokes for the kiddos. That's always a good one. They love that and they'll think it's quite funny. And I sure got the consummate groan from all of you as well, which is outstanding. Thank you, Mike. So let me head over to Michael. Michael, what do you have for us? So Michael's cycle.
Thank you, Chris. Today, I want to talk a little bit about a topic that's very, very prevalent to us. We've been talking with a lot of clients about lately, and that's talking to your aging parents about money in the future. Statistic, I would like to start out with one of these, but about 3 in 10 people currently plan to help their parents financially at some point in the future. And it can be really difficult to provide for your own family, manage your own finances, and take on this additional pressure to help your family. So some things to really think about and consider, of course, you really want to understand your own financial situation. If you manage your finances jointly, including your partner in those conversations is key as well. It's just going to help you determine what ability or what level you're able to help out at and to what degree. Another piece, really important as well, talk to your siblings. You want to be on the same page and upfront with them about what you'll be able to do. One may be in a better position to help financially. One may be closer in proximity to help with care and some day-to-day things. It's just best probably not to let that entire responsibility fall on one person. Also, housing and healthcare, 2 really, really big topics. Aging in place, staying in the home versus downsizing. If your parents are going to be staying in their home, well, accommodations need to be made to make moving around or just accomplishing those day-to-day tasks easier. And if care is needed at some point, how is that going to be handled? It's just always important to get ahead of these things and talk about them before your hand is forced and you have to make a decision. But a lot of this just boils down to communication. On our website and YouTube page, we have a recording from earlier this year from our Where Will You Live seminar, which was fantastic. There's a lot of good information and guidance on this topic. So feel free to check it out there or to talk to one of us. We're more than happy to go through it with you. Thanks, Chris.
You're muted.
I was doing my mime portion of the program, so that was just fun to see. I always like to go through that and just, speak in parentheses for a while. So let's head over to Ken. As I run through this one for you, Ken, I want to see Ken's corner. What should we be looking at for planning today?
I appreciate it, Chris. You got really serious there, so that was
I did for a
really
moment.
good.
I did.
And the planning is very serious. And before we get to the serious part of the planning, is that there's a rise of interest in like Wyoming and Montana, and the kids just got done doing trick or treating. So there's a little bit of play on words with all this one. But did you know that cheerful cowboys make jolly ranchers? I thought, there you go. So yeah, I got a groan, I got the look, I got the eye rolls. That means it worked pretty well there. So there.
Good stuff.
All right, good stuff there. So I just spent 2 full days at Ed Slott, who is the guru on IRAs and taxes and rules around 401ks, IRAs, and everything that has to do with retirement accounts. And a couple takeaways is that there's not a lot of changes just yet, but there's a lot of proposals, if you will. And so one change that did happen, though, and the example they gave was a little bit of an extreme example, but kind of a funny one, is that there's a new election that a spouse can make if we lose a spouse. And it's called the 327 election, not to go into the details of it all. But the idea is if there's a difference in ages between spouses, it really comes into play. The extreme example they gave was Coach Bill Belichick. You know who that is, probably with the New England Patriots, is dating someone who is 23 years old right now. And so there is a big difference in age there, if you will. These new rules would come into play if something were to happen to one of them if they were married. So again, extreme example, doesn't need to be that extreme, could be 10 years difference. But again, we know the rules, and we're able to help guide you through that if that's the scenario that we're looking at. So a lot of conversation between 529 college plans, unused monies going to Roth IRAs. That is a very prevalent one that we're helping clients out with right now and having discussions around that and how do we do that? How do we properly do it to make sure we check all the boxes? Also, IRAs to charity. We've heard that before. We have some great experience with an IRA going to charities, how it works with a trust involved, what happens with the K1s. You know, there's a lot of complicated things that happen with this, but it's easy to name a charity as the beneficiary. But then what? But then what happens? And so, you know, our operational team here is wonderful. They do a great job. They know what to do. They know what forms they get. They know we know who to talk to, most importantly, for you and for your benefit. So the main theme we're seeing right now would be that people are being let go and they're not getting their final victory lap at work that they wanted to when it comes to retirement. They're being forced out for various reasons. But what comes of that is some bitterness. What comes of that is some relief that they don't have to go to work anymore. But again, you know, not being recognized for 40 some years of service at a company. It's a very real thing right now. It's a common theme we're seeing that we're helping people out with right now. But what comes with that is Social Security. What comes with that is severance packages. How is it taxed? When is it taxed? Does it affect Social Security? There's actually a special, you know, it's called a special payment from a severance package. So it actually doesn't affect Social Security on being clawed back before full retirement age. There's so much interplay with all this. There's IRMA, there's Medicare, there's taxes. And we're getting pretty good at helping people navigate through all that and juggling 4 or 5 balls in the air at one time and making sure none of them drop on the floor. And that is your retirement, and that's what we're here to help you out with. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Ken. I appreciate it. It's also kind of the season when people are starting to get colds and kind of get sick. So I got another question for you. How do you know when a ghost has when a vampire has a cold?
Not sure.
Well, he starts coughing. Anyway, really good one for the real young kids as you go through. You'll use that, I know, as well. But I appreciate what Ken said too, back to the serious side of the equation, is we're getting a lot of preempted retirements. So you may have a plan, but it doesn't always work that way. Your plan is often preempted. So one important thing is to be ready at any time. Companies aren't the loyal place you've been at 40 and 30 and 40 years, which are all the stories we used to hear. They're becoming much more of a place where you need to be prepared to be agile, to have some things occur and maybe have a preempted retirement. So 3, 4, 5 years before you expected, sometimes maybe even rarely, but after you expected. Also, when markets are good, people tend to retire younger. It brings a raft of other issues as well. But we're getting people in the late 50s going, man, should I really retire now or not? I'm not 59 and a half. Again, there's a lot of rules we can use to help you as we go along with those. Before I go through my final segment, I want to hop over to Ashley's antics to help us, with you, Will, for her savings and or protection from what's going on out there. But Ashley, what should we be paying attention to?
Thank you, Chris. Tomorrow is Halloween, so believe it or not, we are only 55 days, 4 hours, and 34 minutes away from Christmas Day, as Chris hinted at the start of our webinar today. But that also means that you've probably seen some toy catalogs in your mail already. You've been to a store that is full of holiday decor. Retailers have begun bringing out the holiday deals a little bit earlier this year because Black Friday is not until November the 29th, which is about a week later than the traditional time frame because of Thanksgiving falling a little bit later. But a lot of retailers, again, have already began some of those deals that you will see. So just saving some money this holiday season, start to begin to look for those. You will also see retailers such as Target starting November the 1st, so this week, Friday, beginning their daily holiday deals on toys, gadgets, you name it, for kids and grandkids. So if you're looking to save some money, just keep a lookout for those top deals earlier than expected for this holiday season. If you're stuck on a couple of holiday gifts, according to BlackFriday.com, a few of the most wanted tech gifts, of course, include new phones, including iPhones, as well as a Samsung gadget. There's also a GoPro Hero that some of the older teens might be into. And a drone, of course, is at one of the top lists for gadgets for kids again, as well as adults this season. For kids, however, there is something a little bit new. You may or may not have seen it or heard of it. Poe, the AI Story Bear, is one of the top toys, again, according to BlackFriday.com. This is an AI teddy bear that tells stories that you and your kids can listen to together. They pick the topic, the title, and the story comes alive. So definitely give that a look at. And Magna-Tiles, again, one of the top toys for kids. I mean, my kids had them, I had them as a kid, so just a great old school toy that does not go away. I will send it back to you, Chris, and happy holiday shopping.
Thank you very much, Ashley. You know, if you really want to find out the early Christmas sales when they start, go to Costco because they start in July. Seriously, I was at Costco to get the $1.50 hot dog, which is, of course, where we have dinner when we have a real special night, because you get the soda free, essentially. It's really awesome. But you walk in the store, you know, you're expecting that you see Christmas gear. I kid you not, probably sometime August. And you just gets you to wonder, get you in the holiday spirit. My daughter would start playing Christmas music for Christmas, pretty much the December 26th for the next year. So I have to prevent them from jumping ahead of even Halloween. I say no Christmas music before Halloween. So anyway, thank you very much, Ashley. You know, I did want to ask one more question though, Ashley. You may want to answer this one quick before I hop to Jenny. But how does a vampire, what salutation does a vampire use to start a letter?
I don't know.
To whom it may concern. That's good stuff. You guys do all the writing, so I want to give that to you too. It's kind of fun. But Jenny, tell you what we should pay attention to. Tell us what's going on with Gentian.
Your jokes are on point today. I've made a few notes so I can surprise my kids when I get home. You guys, I cannot believe I'm about to cover November and December here with happenings. I've got no sleeves. I'm looking at fall pictures, but it feels like summer out my window. So I don't know what's going on. But to start the month, we have November 6th. We're going to have a cyber crime webinar. So we have a former FBI agent who's going to be coming in and telling us what are the latest crimes that are being committed on the internet and how can we prevent those from happening to us. November 13th, we're going to have our November birthday lunch. So be sure to sign up for that and send a picture of your younger self if you do plan to attend, because that's been something fun we've been doing this year. November 19th, we have Ladies and Gentians. So if you've already registered, you should have received your chapter assignments. We're doing a quick consume book club. So that allows you to read a book that's this thick quite quickly, because everyone's assigned a chapter and they teach it back to the group. If you haven't signed up, you are still welcome to do so. We have one chapter left to be assigned, but we are looking forward to reading Forever Strong about how to maintain muscle as we age. That takes us to December, you guys. So December 7th, we have a morning at the movies. So join us here in Mequon. We are going to be seeing 2 new releases. You get to pick between the 2, Moana 2 and The Best Pageant Ever, which watch the trailer. They look very, very good. So make sure that you register you and any of your children or grandchildren that you plan to have tag along. December 11th will be our December birthday club. So same rules apply. Send in that photo so we can see what you looked like as a younger person. And that takes us to December 16th, which is our very first gift wrapping event. So we're really excited about this. Gentian Hall will be turned into Chris Doty's workshop that day. And all of the Gentian elves will be available to help wrap your gifts. So we have a hot chocolate bar. We're going to have carols. We're going to have tacky sweaters, all the things to spend the day with you, helping ease your holiday load a little bit. We'll also have DIY stations. So if you want to wrap your own gifts and just spend some time with us, you'll be able to do that as well. And that takes us to the end of the year, you guys. It's coming. Back to you, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jenny. I appreciate that. You said tacky sweaters and my heart stopped for a minute. I thought you were talking about me. So I'm the king of tacky sweaters. King of tacky sweaters as you go through. Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate that as well. The team continues to grow. I know another thing that we'd mentioned before, but I want to mention again is that Ryan from our team as well had recently achieved a SEMA, which is a phenomenal designation within our industry. So we just continue to grow inside and become better for you guys. And thank you guys tremendously for that. One thing I wanted to do, and just a couple of things I'm reiterating here, is we've got about 30 seconds left. Well, it's actually a minute over, but looking over the past 100 years. Sometimes I just sit back and reminisce on this, and I've been reading on it as well. And as I've gone back and looked at all the corrections that have happened, at least in the last 100 years and before that, have all been temporary. Why is that important? It's best to look at those before they happen to know what's occurring. There's a couple things I've seen as big mistakes. More people make more mistakes anticipating corrections than just being in the market themselves. They've lost more money than just being wrong, right? They try to time something. Oh my gosh, it's at an all-time high, I better get out. Well, if you look at 1994 or 5, you missed out on the next 5 years, which could have been another 140% return, right? So I think somebody said this in our team just even today. Be very careful about anticipating things like that. The other is I've seen 2 people over time make massive mistakes when it comes to politics, not liking a candidate and pulling some of their money out, not from here, but 401ks, and actually one did it here. And there was 6-figure losses that occurred. So how would you feel? Not only did the candidate you not want get elected, but also you lost well over 6 figures trying to do something about it. So be very careful. Economics does not often follow politics. Entrepreneurs especially, they want to create a better product despite the environment you may want for your politics. So those are 2 major themes I wanted to end with today. But thank you tremendously for being clients of us. Thank you for your trust. Most importantly, thank you for your introductions. As we dedicate our time and grow for you, we really appreciate the fact that you introduce us to people and we don't have to go out and spend time, as most financial advisors are out there spending more than half their time trying to find new clients. We're simply servicing you and meeting the people you send to us. Thank you for helping us create our own private utopia here, which is a place where when you sit at a table with somebody at one of our events, you're going to find somebody that you like. With that today, I want to say thank you from our galactic headquarters here in Mequon, Wisconsin, Midsummer Day, October 30th. Wanted to make sure that you guys all had a wonderful, wonderful week or 2 coming up before we talk to you, because the next time we do, it'll only be approximately 41 days until Christmas. So with that, I think Ashley had said it, hop out and do all your shopping. Anyway, we appreciate you. Thank you very much and have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.